At this time, we will call this meeting to order. Have a roll call, please.
Trustee DeBoer?
Here.
Trutchell?
Here.
Pfeiffer?
Here.
Walschlager?
Here.
Connor?
Here.
Hallquist?
Here.
President Vanderstel?
Here. If you'd all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance led by Trustee Pfeiffer. All right. First thing we have here are public comments. For anybody that would like to speak in public comments, please step towards the podium. If there's anybody on Zoom, please somehow let the moderator know that you would like to speak. How many are on Zoom?
Just me and the cable TV guy.
Okay. Last call for anybody in the room. Public comments are closed. We will move to our first item on the agenda, which is a consideration of the village board minutes for the November 13th, 2023 meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the board minutes from November 13th, 2023.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the village board minutes from the November 13th meeting. All in favor? Aye. All opposed?
Abstain.
Abstentions?
I abstain.
That motion carries. Now we have items that are related to the vouchers. We have a consideration of vouchers for payment in the amount of $101,782.64.
I'll make a motion to approve the vouchers in the amount of $101,782.64.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the vouchers in the amount of $101,782.64. Sure.
Ryan, financial admin, the annual assessor contract for November. What exactly is that?
That's, we pay it in 12 installments, so we pay about 60,000 a year for the contract. It's every 4 years, we do a full reval, so that's what we pay we do it for 12 months, so that's
Okay,
just that month's contract.
Okay, I didn't know that. And then, I know library's not here, but under library, they've got Culver's Painting and prep work. What is that for? Culver's Painting? Is that the name of a painter?
Let me look it up.
It's the very first one on the library.
It's actually just, must be a wrong name. It's CA Lighting.
CA Lighting
Yep,
did painting.
$2,630.
No,
Nope, that's it.
1,530.
Yeah, Culver's Painting. The wall surrounding the inset reading area, one column, all four sides, multiple accent walls.
Okay. I just want to make sure that was correct, that it was called Culver's Painting and exactly what it was for, so thank you.
Yep, it is Culver's, but not the Culver's Restaurant.
Thank you. That's all I had, thank you.
Anyone else for discussion? All in favor on the vouchers? Aye. All opposed? That motion is carried. Now we have two names for operator bartenders licenses. We have Ryan McGregor and Dylan Hopewood.
We approve the bartender operator licenses for Ryan and Dylan.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the two licenses that are before this board. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? That motion is carried. Now we have consideration of actions related to the issuance of bonds. We will have a presentation, but first I just want to say, obviously, this is something, the way the village does this is every 2 years. So it's every other year the village goes through their borrowing. But a presentation of information regarding proposals received for the sale of bonds as approved by the village board. After that, item B can be taken up, but I'll allow the gentleman Mellors to take it away.
Thank you. Good evening. As a reminder, this bond issue funds capital improvement projects in 2024 and 2025. There's a list in the sale report, but generally speaking, it includes street improvement projects, sewer projects, stormwater projects, some parking, parks, and library projects. The bond sale was conducted this morning. We received a total of 7 bids. The winning underwriter was Baird with a final true interest cost of 3.9041%. The net principal and interest costs over the 20-year life of the bonds came in $527,070 less than the pre-sale estimate that we presented to the village board last month. Due to the final cost of issuance expenses and the premium bid submitted, we were able to downsize the bond issue. So what that means is you're borrowing less, but you get the same amount for project costs. So the final amount that you're borrowing is $3,235,000. A final resolution was sent to the village this afternoon, so that's less than the amount that's on your agenda, but that's not a problem because you're borrowing less than what we had estimated. In the sale report, you'll see the various attachments. The first is the bid tab, which shows the 7 bids that were submitted. Good spread of bids in terms of interest from throughout the upper Midwest and bidders from outside of the upper Midwest as well. So 7 bids is a strong number of bids for a bond sale. Table 1 includes the detailed list of capital projects that are being financed. No changes in that list. Approximately $3.2 million of project costs being financed. Table 2 is the final sources and uses. It shows that we arrive at the $3,235,000 with the final cost of issuance and transactional expenses included. The debt service, final debt service schedule is shown in Table 3. All of this bond issue will be supported by the village's levy for debt service. We break down the debt service by each type of project that is funded. Again, the total principal and interest over the life of the bonds, $4,521,069, which again is about $527,000 less than what we had estimated.
Real quick, the village board last week or 2 weeks ago approved a debt budget with an increase of $225,000. This increased $228,040 for next year, so that will just be paid out of unfunded balance at $3,040.
So in terms of the village's overall debt service levy, including these bonds and your existing debt, that's summarized on Table 4. So your levy for debt service in this year's budget was approximately $1,833,000. For next year's budget, the total levy for these bonds and your existing debt will be approximately $2.1 million. Then there's a projected increase in the levy again in 2025 for these bonds, and then in 2026. The levy decreases because if you continue your 2-year borrowing cycle, the next financing would occur in 2025, which would first impact the budget in 2026. So we've kind of built in a drop in your debt service levy to account for future projects. Finally, these bonds do count towards the village's general obligation debt limit, which is 5% of the village's total equalized value. That's summarized on Table 5. With this proposed bond issue, the village will be at 21% of its debt limit, so well under your legal limit. You have $78.4 million of borrowing capacity remaining, which is a very healthy amount. And then the final attachment is the rating report from Moody's. The village's rating from Moody's was affirmed at AA2. So again, the action on your agenda will be to approve the resolution. The final borrowing amount is less, $3,235,000. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions. You're welcome.
At this time, we could move on to item B, and we would need it. Consideration of a resolution number 112723, a resolution awarding the sale of $3,235,000 general obligation corporate purpose bond series 2023A. That is a slightly different number than is on the agenda, but if you'll look on the front of the packet that was handed out by Ellers for the presentation, that's exact.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 112723, resolution awarding the sale of $3,235,000 general obligation corporate purpose bond series 2023A.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 112723, a resolution awarding the sale of $3,235,000 in general obligation corporate purpose bonds, series 2023A. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? That motion is carried. Now, this is the Village Board second reading and review of Kwik-Trip, a proposed PUD development project whose approval and rezoning are being sought by Kwik-Trip on property tax key HAV 0730950, located at Highway 83 and West Capitol Drive. The first thing that we have to do is have a public hearing to hear comments on the request for the petitioned rezoning of 5.3784 acres to B2, the certified survey map, proposed plan unit development agreement, and proposed land use amendment. So at this time, we can, based on the attendance, I think I'm going to open the public hearing. Typically, I would have you give the presentation again, but I don't think we're going to do that this time. So I'm going to open the public hearing at this time. Anybody wanting to speak can go to the podium and they can speak. Obviously, staff can speak. Anyone in the room can speak in public comments. So just form a line for everyone that. Anybody on Zoom?
Nobody.
Due to our valuable time, I'm going to close the public hearing, and the village board, we can move to proposed preliminary site and building plans if the presenter wants to step, just so that they're ready for questions, if anybody has any. Again, this is a second reading. Typically on a third reading, that'd be time that something would go through. So if anybody has questions, please feel free to ask them. But we have proposed preliminary site and building plans. We have proposed preliminary certified survey map, proposed rezoning to B2 in conjunction with a PUD agreement for the project, proposed petition for the plan unit development, and proposed land use amendment and resolution. If someone were to decide take those items up by saying that they want to, take a B through F, they could do those. If someone wants to take them individually, obviously you're afforded that as well.
This is just a second reading, though. So it would go,
Correct.
December 11th is when the third reading would be. Attorney De La Mora will be sending a PUD draft to Kwik-Trip here shortly. Kwik-Trip representative is here if anybody does have questions. I thought there was some at the last board meeting, but that might have been by citizens. But he's here in case anybody has questions, comments, concerns.
I know of some things that came up at a meeting, and if you don't mind just stepping to the podium, there was going to be some things that were addressed on the entrance to Kwik-Trip. They felt that by looking at it, and some of this is coming from Plan Commission as well, but it was going to be really tight to get trucks in there. Has there been any changes or anything addressed on that?
Yeah, good evening, Troy Malezva, Kwik-Trip Real Estate. Thanks for the time, 1626 Oak Street, La Crosse, Wisconsin.
Thank you.
Yeah, they're working on plans. Actually, there's another meeting tomorrow with our designers to work on addressing those comments. The plan is to have those revisions submitted back prior to that December 11th meeting, to have them in final form, addressing the comments and outlining all the tweaks that were made based on feedback from both the reviewing engineer and Plan Commission.
Okay, thank you.
And yeah, staff did bring that up. If you're coming off of 83 into Kwik-Trip, we had just said it felt a little tight, and they agreed, and I think we're gonna try and open it up, especially for semis to get an angle to get in there if they wanna go in. Most semis that we think will go in there will be the fueling semis, but we'll see.
That was my question. I just wanted to know if you had any updates or anything else that we're not aware of that has come from the last meeting.
No, not really. I guess one piece of feedback was to coordinate with Three Leaf, the developer across the street, and their designer that was working on the road plans. We're working to get them to a contract so that Kwik-Trip is contracted with them to design and implement that, and they're actually working on that right now as well. So we're moving forward, kind of coordinating that as well. So that's probably the biggest, I guess, update in that regard. But there is discussions and coordination going on there as well.
And again, just for public, because this is on YouTube, if approved, when is your goal to start and goal to finish and open?
We'd like to start as early as we can in the spring. Obviously, there's some earthwork to do there, and then the plan would be to open probably late summer, early fall, depending obviously on when we can go through the bids through the winter, get contractors lined up, but generally speaking would be under construction next year and open up probably in the fall, early fall.
Are already asking. Anybody else? The last question I'll have, other than making some alterations to widen out or make it easier for trucks to pull in, if a truck was exiting and one's coming in at the same time, like we just talked about, is there any other changes or anything that's being tweaked right now that might be presented to the board by the next time that we would meet?
Nothing of significance. I think it was more just coordinating comments that were in the reviewing engineer's memo, so more technical items, not any substantial changes to the plans themselves.
If there are, I guess I would just ask if it's at all possible, if it could be typically like the Wednesday before our meeting.
Sure.
So if we could get them out, then they can get them to each member of the board so that they can have time to review anything.
Will do.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That second reading is
Left a
complete.
sheet here.
Oh, go ahead. Oh, oh, he,
That was a salary demands.
yeah. Just went down. Yeah. We'd all be running with that one, right to the ATM. I kid. Now we have discussion and consideration of Village of Hartland Professional Police Association Annual Wage Reopener Agreement. Chief?
As a reminder, even though we're in the middle of a 5-year contract, the union always has opened up yearly to just do their increase from year to year. The theory was always they just didn't want more than the rest of the village. They didn't want less. They just wanted whatever the budget allowed for the rest of the village employees to be processed for the officers and detectives that fall under this agreement. That was a little easier when we didn't have the pay for performance schedule because basically everyone got the same dollar amount. Now that we moved to that pay for performance, that's something that village manager Bailey meets with the representatives from the union, and they come up with a dollar amount based on our budget. That dollar amount was 4% for 2024. The only other change is on page 21, section 1703, under the section that talks about the probation for the officer. There used to be the last line of the first paragraph under that section said that we shall recommend to the Fire and Police Commission to do one of the following options. That's not something that's captured in our PFC rule book. So that was something that we really never had to do other than this contract made us do it every year. So instead of having it done that way, it's just going back to the authority of the chief of police to do one of the following, because otherwise I was notifying the PFC every time. They were asking why I was doing that. I was reminding them of the contract. They were reminding me that under the PFC rules. So we had an opportunity to kind of clean that up, language. So same essence, same theory of what we've been doing. It's just one less notification of the PFC that does not need to be done per state statute. And those were the only modifications of the contract.
The 4% is what we were doing village-wide, an average of a 4%. A lot of other municipalities are in that anywhere from, I've heard as low of 2.25 to 5.5, 6%. Everybody's kind of all over the board right now. It depends on net new construction and the strength of your community. And the 4% was put in the budget. They're very amenable. We never have any issues working together. It was probably a 2-minute conversation of, here's what we think, and they're very fair, so.
I got a quick question.
Go ahead.
Section 23.01, the physical fitness. Just a percentage, does all of your employees do that?
No, not all of them. It is a volunteer program.
Right.
I would say less than a handful do not participate. So maybe three people do not.
I was just looking at some of the passing grades, and I think I might apply for the police officer's job.
Yeah. The hard part's doing it all together.
I was just curious.
Anybody else? Thanks, Chief.
We don't have to make a motion on that because it's already been approved.
You do have to, because
Motion.
Oh, we do.
I was just saying, yeah.
Oh, okay. I'll make a motion to, for the Village of Hartland Professional Police Associate Annual Wage Reopener Agreement.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded for the Village of Hartland Professional Police Association Annual Wage Reopener Agreement, or to approve that agreement. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? That motion is carried. Now we have discussion and consideration of a letter of engagement with Baker Tilly for the closing of Tax Incremental District Number 5, which is the Culvers.
so this is just a requirement under TIF law. When you are done with the TIF and closing it, you have to have a final audit. I've submitted and started the paperwork to do the TIF closure, and then they will do the final audit, and this TIF will be done.
I'll make a motion for the consideration of the letter of engagement with Baker Tilly for the closing of TID 5.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to get going with the letter of engagement with Baker Tilly for the closing of TID 5. As a question, just wondering, because once this goes through, then it'll go through, correct?
Correct.
What is the ballpark? What is the taxes that'll be coming onto the roll? As everybody knows with TIF, so all that money's just been going into the TIF to kind of repay that. What's going to be coming onto the rolls, approximately?
It's not huge. I want to say it's about $18,000 for the entire Culver's TIF. 18 to 20,000, I would say, that's going to come onto the roll, and that'll be through all the taxing jurisdictions.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed? That motion is carried. Now we have discussion and consideration of Resolution 112723A, a resolution approving municipal court budget.
2024 court budget has been submitted by the Lake Country Municipal Court Administrative Committee. On a quick note, the administrative chair sent a letter just saying how we're looking in 2023. We're anticipating an almost $21,000 surplus. As a reminder, the court is funded fully off citations, so whatever the court gets in revenues, it's through that citation and their portion of that citation. Every citation that's issued is broken up into different parts where the court, the municipality, state of Wisconsin, and the county, through other programs, get a piece of that citation money. We do anticipate being able to fully cover that court costs in 2024. We did have some increases in costs, just mostly due to the cost of services going up. And then we also started utilizing SDC, which is the state collection agency, debt collection agency, through the Wisconsin Department of Revenue to try to capture some of those unpaid fines. What comes with that, though, is a lot of additional postage, so we had to increase our postage by quite several $1,000s to cover that cost. But what is being submitted by that court, which I had a chance to review in detail, is a balanced budget for 2024, and it will remain fully covered by that citation costs that are due to the court each year.
Motion that we approve resolution 11/27/23A, a resolution approving municipal court budget.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to consider Resolution 1127, I'm sorry, to pass Resolution 11/27/23A, a resolution approving the municipal court budget. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? That motion is carried. And now, as we're making record time at this village board don't second that. We have discussion and consideration of a new village logo. It was brought to my attention by staff that there was a want to have a new village logo. We don't necessarily have one. We have a font. Right now, it's the cursive Village of Hartland. On some other things, it's different, where it has the heart. Citizens have also brought it up, also, that they don't like the cursive, and a wanting to get away from the heart-type logo and have that be part of our history, but that we need a new logo. In fact, at the last village board meeting, we had a gentleman that was here and came up after and said, how come you guys don't have anything here on the podium or behind you that says Village of Hartland? While someone's watching the meeting, you don't have anything that really says, hey, this is I know we have the mural, but I personally thought it was a good idea. But staff brought it up also, so they hear things as well. So I didn't know if you wanted the floor or not, but you're more than welcome to it.
You go right ahead.
All right, so people on staff have been looking into things. This has kind of stayed away from the board. People on staff have been kind of working on different things. This is the first time it's coming to the board. The reason that they did it like that is instead of coming with 215 options to the board, they thought they would kind of look at and go off of things that they thought, and also things that they've heard from other citizens that come up to the counter, because they get, that interaction more than we do. I don't think that we're going to decide necessarily on a logo tonight. But I think it'd be really good, as opposed to anybody, people can say whatever they want, but I think it'd be good, instead of just saying what people don't like, is what idea they may have. Obviously, you know that I'll give mine, but I always do give my opinion. But I think it's important that other people do as well. And if someone's absolutely against it and is like, no, we need to keep that logo, then say that as well. But
I just have a general comment. I think we have to remember when we're doing this that it has to go on stationery. So it's going to have to be shrunk quite a bit, and we don't want it to have so much detail that it loses what it's for. And also, if it has to go on a T-shirt, you don't want it also to be a whole bunch of blobs that turn out. So I just want to keep that in mind, to keep it simple when it has to be shrunk so much. And then you all go ahead.
well, why don't we just keep going right down the line? If there's more that you have to add, feel free.
I wasn't,
Is there anything that you have in your mind where you're like, I'd like to see this as part of a logo?
no.
Okay. No, I
No,
just didn't know
no,
if there was something
no.
jumping out at you right now.
No, I mean, I like some of these, the ideas of them, and the way that they're like in a circle, and the very distinct print, where it isn't just loopy where you're guessing what the letter is. However, I think those are good, but I think we could still clean it up a little bit, and I'll leave it at that.
Trustee Connor?
I don't know that I have a preference yet. I do agree that if it's too detailed, then as Ann said, it's gonna be hard to put on certain things, but sometimes simple is better. I'm looking at a few things here, almost looking at maybe a combination of something, but of the two. I like one, but some of them don't even say village, so I think that's important to have the village on there. But yeah, I don't have a preference as of yet.
Oh,
Okay. Well, when I was on youth baseball a while back, we were looking for a new logo.
60-some years
It was a long time, it was before they had bats. And so what we did, we opened it up to the public and said, turn in, you think you're gonna get 200 things, you're not going to, you're gonna get like 6 or 7. And so we made it, and we reviewed them, we just said, no, we don't like this, and don't, and so if it didn't turn out, but sometimes people out there have ideas that we don't think of, so, but as far as these that we selected, I would like to see a whole nother 5 or 6 to pick from, to be quite honest with you. I mean, if this is the only 5, then I did my ranking, but I guess since this is our first attempt, I'd like to see another attempt. That's my opinion. I'm done.
You write notes on the printouts so they can take the ideas versus ranking it and then compile everything together, because it's really hard
Yeah.
we're talking about stuff that which ones we're not even know that we're talking about.
Right.
That would be very helpful.
I'm in agreement with some of the things Trustee Hallquist said. Getting some more ideas would be good. I also think that people from the village can come with creative ideas as well. We don't have to feel like we're in a hurry on this, but we'd like to get it done. Maybe we can try to think about setting a deadline as to when the public can submit ideas to the village, just to, maybe there'll be some diamonds in the rough of some ideas out there. I like the bridge, because we have lots of bridges going across the bark throughout the village. Looking over at the old sign, I see the steeple of a church. We've got lots of churches located throughout our village, but, it's how much can you fit on one, logo for the village? That's the challenge, but including the wording of village of, I like that too.
Yeah, I tend to agree with parts of what everybody has said. I'm not in love with any of them in particular. I think that option B I like, but to Ann's point, too much isn't a good thing either. I think the trees look like smoke signals. I like the idea of the bridge as well, but I don't, Jeff's point, it's kind of a generic bridge, and we've got some unique bridges, and I think that if we could somehow capture that, it'd be kind of cool too. But I think the idea of making some comments and suggestions on the actual logos and then giving them back to Sandy to dissect and review, I think that's a good place to start.
I think for myself, and just going off some of the comments, and it doesn't mean that they're wrong, and most of you that are on will remember, and Tim, you may even, because you always were paying attention, so you may remember, there was a time just like 2 or 3 years ago approximately, that we put it out to the public, but when you put it out to the public, you can't put it out to just your own village, and we got a ton because, and I agree, we tried it once, but there's things on the internet that you can go and you can just type in, I want to, and it'll spit out 30 logos for you. And so we did end up having, hundreds that came through. That was that one time when we looked at the logos, so we had to sift through and sift through and sift through. That was part of the reason of kind of looking at them first, but I think that it'd be helpful. I think it'd be helpful to come up on some type of, for instance, do we want a circular design that says like village of, and do we want it to say established? Do we want it to say Wisconsin? Do we want it to be a circular logo as opposed to like now we have what would be considered a rectangular logo? I'm not seeing one in front of me, but it's a rectangular logo. And I think that we have to think about, what sets us apart. And Adam, you touched on it, but like when I see the bridge, that is a bridge, and Mr. Faulkner's here, anybody in, well, actually all of the USA can call, and that's a pretty standard thing to call and say, okay, we want a bridge, and they just figure out how wide the span is, they make the bridge, but it looks the same no matter where you go, pretty much. It's not a custom bridge. It's basically, it's going to go into Menards and just picking out your railing. It's going to be on your house and all the other houses in your subdivision. So I don't think that's, this is just me personally, and I'm just trying to share all this with the board. I don't think that that's the feature that makes Hartland Hartland. I think it's cool being able to walk over a river, and to us it's beautiful, and it is beautiful, but we're sitting here amongst an entire lake country where they have lakes, and mainly that's what they really focus on, right? It's called lake country. And we're kind of unique in the fact that we don't have a lake. In fact, I can't think of a lot of communities that don't have a lake. I mean, most of the, even the small ones, they have a lake. And I just wanted to say for myself, one of the things that I think really does, and I know this sounds simplistic, but really does set us apart, and it goes right along with what it goes right along with what has always made Hartland tick, or what has made Hartland flow. But I mean, there was 4 people here, or 4 land masses here that were purchased, so 4 farms, and then they opened, and this has nothing to do with the bar, but they did. They opened the grist mill, put in a dam, and everything by Palmer's and that parking lot that's behind it, that was the grist pond, and then there was a raceway, so this water made everything move. You know, we had, and that started where they could churn up all this barley and stuff like that, so instead of taking all this really fluffy barley, they took it down the Watertown Plank Road to Milwaukee where they could go and sell it. We were the first community that ended up becoming an Ice Age trail community. One thing I think makes us really unique, and I'm not saying we're the only one, but what makes us really unique is, and I said this before the meeting to some of these people, to some of the people on the board, but whether it be by path, by rail, by waterway, or by, what am I missing, or by road, those are the things that have made Hartland really tick. I mean, through the 60s and the 40s, I mean, that was all, Highway 16 ran through Hartland. Anybody going to Toma, they were coming through. That's why we had all those small businesses. I mean, and I know I'm talking a lot, but I'm going to say it anyways because I think this is important, because it'll be for a long time that we'll have that logo. But when we say we've never had parking or traffic problems like this, we have nothing compared to what we used to have in the 40s, 50s, and 60s. No one drove through Hartland except for travelers coming through here. No one drove in Hartland that lived here because it didn't move. Everybody's stopping at stop signs going out because they're all headed out of town. Like during the summer, it would just be jam-packed. In fact, now Hartland says, some people say, we don't want too much here. Well, in the 60s and 70s, people were screaming bloody murder saying, don't take Highway 16 off of Capitol Drive because that's going to take away from our businesses. So there's a lot of problems that sometimes we think we don't have, but roads and waterways and the train tracks and the trails is what has made us us. And I guess I'm just going to express that I really have always thought, I mean, we are a gathering place. We're a place where people, they may spend all day on, and I'm not trying to just hit on like things that just sound funny, but people do. They may be on the lakes all day long, you know? But a lot of times, regardless of the fact that we might be one of the only communities that don't have a lake, they'll still come here to the beer garden. They still come in here for hometown celebration and have a blast. They still come and get the best steak they can eat or hang out at the sports bar or go and get a bunch of different tap beers. But all people come together here, and it's a gathering place. And what better thing that shows the gathering place is that I know there's not a lot of people kayaking down the river, but the fact is we do have a river, you know, that's running through it, and people come and they come on the roads and they come on the walkways, and they don't stop on the train, but we do have the holiday train. So I'm gonna stop and get off the train. Other people are gonna stop and get off the train, and people come from all over on those roads and trails to come and watch that, and it packs this place, and they come with food to feed the hungry. I guess I wanted to express that's one thing that I think is extremely unique about Hartland compared to all of the other communities. I'm not saying it's completely different than all of them, but I think that portion is much more unique than us having a fountain or us having a bridge that I'm sure they sell hundreds of those bridges a year. I'm guessing that I'm correct on that. So I guess I just wanted to I'm going to stop saying I guess. I wanted to say that because I think that it's important, because there's not another thing that I've thought about, like with a logo of, hey, this sets us apart. This is us. You know, we walk down Capitol because we're going to the beer garden, or we walk down Capitol because we're going to go and watch the parade, or we're going to just get on someone's front lawn and watch the parade. You know, we walk on, and not just Capitol, but all the roads. And another thing that was food for thought, and I know we're not getting into colors, but I saw something where the circle around Hartland was red. Like if you look at those circular ones, because the police and fire department are so interwoven to the fabric of this community since its inception. Chief, 1893 or 92?
93.
93, so 1893, so less than a year after the village was in, the fire department was up and running. But from a color standpoint, there was a color swap that we got, but that dark blue and that red, I mean, it's now we're starting to tell our story. You know, they are really interwoven, and I mean, I know we only had a constable for a while, but but we did end up having a police department. I mean, later in time, I don't know when it started exactly, but fire department's been there, and having that blue and red and showing how much pride we have in them, I thought was kind of cool. So anyways, I wanted to throw that out because I think it's really important. I think that some thought needs to go out towards not just what will look cool, but what is us. And I think that a lot of the historical stuff we've had, when Highway 16 was going through Hartland, you know, that's awesome. That's great. But I think that there's other things that, other than having that heart, even, and I'd never have liked to have the heart now because it's not even spelt heart, you know? It'd be like me saying the Fannerstill name will have a fan for the logo. Well, it doesn't even start with an F. It starts with a P. It doesn't work. But I guess I'll digress. But I think it's really important that we actually think about what we want. I know that was long-winded, but I think it's really important because what's going to go on there is going to go on for 20, 40, or 60 years before they're going to go through that. We're rebranding to showcase us. So.
I would just like to,
Go ahead.
to add that we are in the process of the website refresh. My hard deadline for a new logo is February 15th. And I know Civic Rec is they're pushing now for that.
Yep.
So whatever process we do go through, it just needs to keep rolling. And I would really welcome all ideas, need your input to know what direction.
If I could add, one thing I do, and I did forget that, there is a deadline looming because we want to have it, or it would be prudent to have it on the new website as opposed to having to change a bunch of things. And that was another portion of I'd rather say anybody from the public, if people want to say something, that they could email in an idea. I mean, anyone can do that to a trustee, and that would get sent to, I think the best thing, have it sent to Sandy. Have it sent to our clerk. Anybody can submit an idea. Anybody in the village that wants to submit an idea can submit an idea. They can. Any trustee can submit an idea to Sandy. But I think that one thing we need to know is, you know, whether we're going to do this or not. I think that it'd be important, like, to know, does the board want to keep moving forward, or is it like, no, and no one's trying to rush, but the general idea was to get it down to some, and then it's like, okay, let's get this, not tonight, but let's get it voted on to get it down to like 2 or 3. But I think it'd be important to know from the board whether we think we do need. I personally would like to see a new logo. I think there needs to be a rebranding. I think Hartland's changed a lot in the last 10 years. I really do. I mean, or the last 15 years, and I think it's time to move on to a new phase of Hartland I see evolving, and it's a really exciting one. I don't know what other people on the board.
You know, what would really be nice is if the board decided that they want the village of Hartland, if you want that, then it gives staff some way to, at least the leaning point, right? We can lean towards that. If you just want Hartland established in Wisconsin, we just need some direction which way to go.
Can we get a hand vote? Only because, I mean, this isn't legally binding or anything, but can we get a hand vote on whether it should say village of? I think that's great, because that's unanimous. And I think it's good because there's a I didn't know this, there's a Hartland, Minnesota, there's a Hartland, New York, there's another Hartland town in Wisconsin, and there's one in Connecticut, huh? Who else would like established, or at least EST 1892? So we know that. Do you guys like the rectangular, or I like the circular? For the circular?
Depends what it is.
Okay. I'm just trying to help staff out because time
Right.
is
And I do like your thought of the colors with the history, with the red being important and the dark blue. It does, you know, we emphasize so much about policing and fire department. That's really important to our community.
We're also one of the only communities that, I mean, there's other communities that have their PD, but even that's kind of kind of fading because the surrounding communities around us, other than city of Delafield, everything else touching us is like, oh, the county will take care of it unless Hartland wants to do it for too cheap. But I mean, we're a standalone as in we keep on holding the line on a fire department. I mean, it really is woven into, I mean, same for PD. I mean, people really appreciate and respect the PD here and, you know, look at the awards that were just given at the last meeting, you know, so these are all just ideas, you know. I don't want it to be the Jeff show. I know people sometimes think that.
I was gonna make a comment. So the hard part, when you think about Hartland, a lot of people mention Bark River, Ice Age Trail. It's really hard in a graphic design to make it look and flow nicely. The bridge, obviously, I get that it's generic. It flows. Just trying, you know, the water fountain, to me, they look like mini fireworks kind of. It's really hard to get some of that graphically designed. But again, any feedback that you can give, again, personally, the circle, like some of those, it fits on a shirt, it looks good in your logo, but, you know, some of the detail, just kind of come up with some ideas or pass along.
Anybody else have anything? Do we have could we just get a show of hands on whether staff should keep on working towards a logo, or is there anyone, I'm for continuing on the logo process. Anybody else? Just a show of hands? Okay.
Should we table that 9 then?
I think we should. I think people really should think about, because at some point we will have to, at least everybody knows how it's going to be done. I personally think this is the best way because it's going to happen pretty quickly, but for anybody viewing, there's 5 options and it's going to end up coming down to people picking 5 options, and it's basically like we take the top 2 or 3 and we keep moving forward with that. But to have the input of what people, if there's something you absolutely do not want to see, definitely say that. If there's something you absolutely do want to see, you know, say that as well. Yeah, we could table.
Okay, I'll make a motion to table item 9, the consideration of a new village logo.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to table the discussion to continue it to the next meeting. Do you want to include it in that motion that, I mean, staff kind of has the direction to keep on working on that, Tim?
Sure. Sure, that would be fine.
Yeah, I'll
The seconder seconds that? Okay. So the motion would be to continue to have staff working on that and to table further discussion to next meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? That motion is carried. Now we have discussion and consideration for our Christmas Village Board meeting on December 25th, 2023. I would presume that it will only be the village board that will be here. We will not have any staff support or attendance from staff because they have the day off.
Yeah, we actually have off the 25th and 26th because we always have Christmas Eve and the way when it falls on a Sunday, so it'll be a Monday, Tuesday, and then that Friday is New Year's Eve. So that'll be a short week as is with tax collections and everything. We will do a payable run that week, and that would be approved January 9th by the village board. But any items that we need will go to the December 11th or January 8th village board meeting, if you guys are okay with canceling the December 25th meeting. We have in the past.
I would make a motion that we cancel the December 25th, 2023 village board meeting.
I'll second.
All second at once.
It's been moved and seconded to cancel the meeting on December 25th, which is Christmas Day, 2023. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? That motion is carried. Announcements.
So, as we all know, on Friday, this coming Friday, December 1st, is the tree lighting down here on Cottonwood, the Five Corners. There will be a little inconvenience. The sidewalk in front of the Hartland Inn is going to be poured on Thursday. And with the temperatures, it's gonna be, have to be closed off because it's not gonna cure in time it'll be too much scuffing. So we're gonna tidy it up with barricades and fences, and it'll be a little inconvenience, but should be okay because the road will be closed there. We can utilize the Kwik-Trip lot and, like I stated, the road in front of the tree and the Village Graphics lot. So there'll be a little inconvenience at the Hartland Inn for this Friday.
Oh, good evening. Tomorrow, Bruce will be in town. We have 3 meetings scheduled with some businesses, Medline, Pro Health, and Bank 59, I believe, are the 3. We have 2 other ones that we're waiting here from Waste Management and Aurora Health. And then sent out emails to 7, and those are the ones that have responded so far. So we're moving forward with that strategic plan and keeping going with that. Other than that, we'll be fully staffed for the tree lighting ceremony and the holiday train. So.
Couple quick updates. Myself and Director Felkner met with Waukesha County DPW and Chairman Paul Decker last week to talk about the intersection of County Highway KE and E. Our goal there was to get some type of flashing or better notification for the stop signage on County Highway KE. Well, we don't have a high volume of crashes there because of the speed limit at 45 miles per hour. When you do have someone miss that stop sign, it could lead to a pretty devastating traffic accident. And for every accident, we have 100 close calls in that intersection that we don't get to document or have that as data used. This has been an ongoing conversation for probably since I got here 5.5 years ago. So we're hopeful that maybe we are going to get some headway. What the county has agreed to do is add the warning stop sign ahead flashing signs. We used to have one west of that location, but it was stolen about a year ago, and the county never replaced it. So they're gonna replace that, and then they're gonna add one for the westbound traffic or east of that intersection. I sent them some information regarding that. One thing they wanted us to do was to bear the labor of maintaining the signs so that they work, the solar powered signs. I think I put it back to them saying, I think the county can handle 2 signs, one of which they had previous to this. But if it means us getting that sign, I think it's worth our time to update those batteries every year or 2.
2 to 3 years. Yes.
2 to 3 years, so it's not a big deal that way. Talked with Zimmerman Architects last week. Been meeting with them the last couple weeks, trying to get them moving forward with the update to our billing needs analysis. They think they have what they need to present that to the board at our December 11th board meeting. So I'm eagerly anticipating what they come up with on that. And then finally, we did prepare a cost estimate for that SRO program, that School Resource Officer program to Lake Country Lutheran High School. And I know they're reviewing that, and they'll get back to us on how they want to proceed with that. That's all I got.
One quick one I had, I reviewed the tax bills today, the proof of the tax bills, gave the approval to the county. They will send it to the printer. They will send us another proof. My goal is to have them mailed next Monday, the 4th, so that residents will have them hopefully late next week. The only issue would be that, just like anybody else, there's 20, 30 communities in Waukesha County that we all use that same tax printer. So it depends on the order and how quick they can get things out. But we're usually pretty early. We are closed Monday the 25th, Tuesday the 26th, Friday the 29th, if I'm doing my dates right. I know a lot of people, tax bills are not due until January 31st. There is no rush. People, if they want them in before the end of the year, can place them in the drop box. I believe we're going to work with PD to put a sign after midnight that it was collected, because a lot of people will want to dump it over the weekend. And then the first is a Monday, so if anybody drops it in late. But again, tax bills are not due until January 31st, but people just like having them to us before December 31st for tax purposes. So they will have 4 weeks to get us the tax bills.
And when do those hit?
We're hoping to mail them December 4th.
Okay.
Last year, I think it was December 8th.
Then, sorry, I just want some little bit of clarification. If I get, say, 30 submissions, do you want all 30 coming to the board? Do you want it narrowed down in some fashion? How do you want that to proceed with logos?
I don't want to look at 30 of them.
I think that I trust staff to look at some of them or be like, this is like this, or if you see something that people have said that they hate, but that's my opinion.
I would think 10 would probably be a good number if we've got. I don't think we want more than 10, because just to go over the 5 here was hard. Don't you, do you think 10's a good number? I don't.
I mean, I think I don't think getting too much more than 10. If we're gonna vote like this, you know, I think it'll be, or at least get that 10, then drop it in half.
Yes.
You know, and get it down to 5 to make a vote like this, because for this to work, you're gonna end up taking the top 2 or 3. Like originally she was thinking the top 2, because that would make it a lot easier on staff, where then we can hum and haw on each step of the way. It's like, okay, this is what we're going with, but together, it's like, even if you don't like a little part of it, it's like, okay, this is where we're going. And then it's like, let's get a logo picked, and then all of a sudden we can start rolling with it. So that's, yeah. Clear, I think.
That helps.
December 1st, Friday, is Hartland Lights. There will be events going on in and around downtown. There will also be events, I don't ever like to take away from them, there will be events going on and things that are fun to do up on Hartbrook Drive. Lot of different things. But Hartbrook Drive, I think, will be quite a few people up there. They have the reindeer again up in that strip mall, and then they have a lot going on downtown at the different businesses, I believe all the way down basically to almost to the Citgo.
We have horse-drawn carriage rides through.
Horse-drawn carriage rides, lot of different things going on, so a really good time, and it'd be great to see as many people out as possible. It's always a really fun night. The holiday train is on December 4th. Hopefully we can pack as much food and beat last year's total as we can, so if people could get the word out that really, to those who have more, give more. To those who don't have as much, that's why we're collecting it, so they can go to the food pantry and then you can have some more. But it's always really important. We do very well with it, but just because it's in a fluent area does not mean there are not people that really helps them. Because when it's a decision of, do you have a nice dinner in Christmas, or have a few nice dinners in December, or go and get nice gifts for your kids, obviously it's a kind of a domino effect. So let's try to collect that food. Monetary donations are taken as well. The village board has the reviews. I've received some of them, but for Ryan Bailey, as is customary, annually, we go through and we give him his review. So everybody has those forms, so just try to remember to complete those, preferably by Wednesday of the meeting that we're gonna be talking about it, so I have time to put it into the spreadsheet. And also, I do want to say, now that we've done the borrowing, so everything held the same, Ryan told me today that it sounds like we did very well on our rates for the borrowing. It ended up being better than we thought. But it is, you know, I'm gonna, against what Ryan may want, I am gonna end up getting it out there. I know that it's putting it out there where people might still get upset, but they're gonna be upset. Some people are gonna be upset at their taxes anyways, because if it goes up at all, but I commend this entire board, for the tax rate. It doesn't mean we had to go down this much, but we did lower the tax rate by 19% and $3.77 per thousand. We are definitely hanging with the best of them on what we charge, especially for what people get. Yesterday I was talking to someone and someone said, well, what's the tax rate in the town? I said, I'm not even gonna have the conversation because it's so not comparable. You go to the town and they just come to Hartland and say, for $10 an hour, can you come and cover our streets? That's what they do, kind of. That's how it feels sometimes. They don't have the amenities that we have. It's great to live there. It's just they don't have the amenities that we have. So kudos to everybody on the board. And Mr. Faulkner, the streets look great. You wouldn't have even realized that there was hundreds of trillions of leaves that just fell throughout the village of Hartland. So kudos to you guys. I don't have any more announcements.
I have one, and correct me if this has changed, but this Thursday, the 30th, at Piggly Wiggly at 6 o'clock is Stuff the Squad Car. So bring your food donations or money and stuff it into the police car.
Awesome.
And if you can't make that event, we do have bins there that you can do it, prior to the event, any day. They're out
Those are
there.
in place
They're
now,
out there
correct?
now.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody else with an announcement?
Just the streets look great right now, the way they're decorated, really pretty. Nice work.
I would make a motion then that we adjourn.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to adjourn this meeting. All in favor? Aye. This meeting's adjourned.